Hi, I'm Miss Jackie from the Ohio County Virtual Lions Club. I'm going to read the story by Dr. Seuss. Did I ever tell you how lucky you are? If you like this story, check out our free little libraries around town. Well, he doesn't look very happy. Did I ever tell you how lucky you are? By Dr. Seuss. This book, With Love, is for Phyllis the Jackson. When I was quite young and quite small for my size, I met an old man in the desert of Dries, and he sang me a song I will never forget. At least, well, I haven't forgotten it yet. He sat in a terribly prickly place, but he sang with a sunny, sweet smile on his face. When you think things are bad, when you feel sour and blue, when you start to get mad, you should do what I do. Just tell yourself, Ducky, you're really quite lucky. Some people are much more, oh, ever so much more, oh, much more unlucky than you. Be glad you don't work on the Bungle Bung Bridge that they're building across the Boober Bay of Bum Bridge. It's a troublesome world. Other people who are in it are troubled with troubles almost every minute. You ought to be thankful a whole weeping lot for the places and people you're lucky you're not. Yeah, they don't look very lucky. Just suppose, for example, you lived in Gazette and got caught in that traffic on Joint Highway 8. That is terrible traffic. Or suppose, just for instance, you lived in Kazare with your bedroom up here and your bathroom up there. Being that far from the bathroom would stink. Suppose, just suppose, you were poor Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrombdefibrillator apart. He never will get it together, I'm sure. He never will know if the gick or the gore fits into the scrux or the snux or the snore. Yes, Ducky, you're lucky you're not Herbie Hart, who has taken his thrombdefibrillator apart. Look at all those pieces. Think they work you too hard? Think of poor Allie Sard. He has to mow grass in his uncle's backyard, and it's quick growing grass, and it grows as he mows it. The faster he mows it, the faster he grows it. And all that his stingy old uncle will pay for his shoving that mower around in that hay is the pitifulest pay of 2 duklas a day. And Allie can't live on such pitifulest pay. That's a lot of grass. He has to paint flagpoles on Sundays and cruise. How lucky you are you don't live in his shoes. It's a dangerous job. And poor Mr. Bix, every morning at 6, poor Mr. Bix has his bourfin to fix. It doesn't seem fair. It just doesn't seem right. But his bourfin just seems to go schlump every night. It schlumps in a heap, sadly needing repair. Bix figures it's due to the local night air, and it takes him all day to unschlump it. And then the night air comes back, and it schlumps once again. So don't you feel blue? Don't get down in the dumps. You're lucky you don't have a Borland that schlumps. And while we're at it, consider the schluts, the crumple-born, web-footed, green-bearded schluts, whose tail is entailed with unsolvable knots. If he isn't muchly more worse off than you, I'll eat my umbrella. That's just what I'll do. Look at all those knots in his tail. And you're lucky indeed you don't ride on a camel. To ride on a camel, you sit on a wheel. A wheel, you know, is a sort of a saddle held on by a button that's known as a saddle. And boy, if your old wheel saddle gets loose, I'm telling you, Ducky, you're gone like a goose. And poor Mr. Potter, T-crosser eye daughter. He has to cross T's and he has to dot I's in a land tea factory out in Van Nuys. Oh, the jobs people work out west near Hotch Hotch. There's a Hotch Hotcher bee watcher. His job is to watch, is to keep both his eyes on a lazy town bee. A bee that is watched will work harder, you see. Well, he watched and he watched, but in spite of his watch, that bee didn't work any harder. Not much. So then somebody said, our old bee watching man just isn't bee watching as hard as he can. He ought to be watched by another Hotch Hotcher. The thing that we need is a bee watcher watcher. Well, the bee watcher watched the bee watcher. He didn't watch well, so another Hotcher had to come in to watch watcher. And today, all the Hotchers in Hotch are watching on watching, the watcher who's watching that bee. You're not a Hotch watcher. You're lucky. You see? It's not easy to say either. And how fortunate you're not Professor DeVries, who has spent the past 32 years, if you please, trying to teach Irish ducks how to read Japanese. And think of the poor puffing flugelhorn players who have to parade down the flugelhorn stairs every morning to wake up the Prince of Puboken. It's awful how often their pupils get broken. And oh, just suppose you were poor Harry Hatto. Try as he will, he can't make any shadow. He thinks that perhaps something's wrong with his gids. And I think that by golly, there probably is. And the brothers Bazoo, the poor brothers Bazoo, suppose your hair grew like theirs happened to do. You think you're unlucky? I'm telling you, Ducky, some people are muchly, oh, ever so muchly more unlucky than you. My gosh, their hair's all connected. And suppose that you lived in that forest in France where the average young person just hasn't a chance to escape from the perilous pants-eating plants. But your pants are safe. You're a fortunate guy. And you ought to be shouting, how lucky am I? And speaking of plants, you should be greatly gladdish you're not former Falkenberg's 17th radish. And you're so lucky you're not Cucky Gowan, who lives by himself 90 miles out of town in the ruins of Ronk. Ronk is rather run down. And you're so lucky you're not a left sock left behind by mistake in the caverns of Proc. Thank goodness for all of the things you are not. Thank goodness you're not something someone forgot and left all alone in some punkerish place, like a rusty tin coat hanger hanging in space. That's why I say, Ducky, don't grumble, don't stew. Some critters are much, oh, ever so much so muchly, much, much more unlucky than you. He's right. Next time I'm unhappy, I'm going to think about how happy I am not to be more unlucky than I am. I hope you enjoyed our story. If you did, check out the free little libraries all around town. Bye-bye.